Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Monica Smith, one of the co-creators of RevelEleven, and we started RevelEleven, like 5.5 years ago now, to create a community of women who wanted to do deeper dive conversations about topics that are meaningful to us. And wellness is definitely one of our top priorities, right? We're so happy that Sarah was able to join us this morning. One of RevelEleven's advisors, Janet Stevenson, I'm not sure if she's on the call, but she recommended Sarah to me several months ago, and I actually started training with her through an app called Future. And I'm just going to say that my golf game has made remarkable improvements. Not to mention, I just adore the workouts and working with Sarah. You should have received her bio that I sent this morning, but I'm just so impressed that Sarah was able to get her PhD while training for the Olympics. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. It's so great to see you all. I definitely recommend not putting yourself on mute because you're going to talk. I'm going to force you all to at least think and talk and write a lot. So I encourage that. But is it okay if I share my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Oh, cute. Okay, so we are going to chat today about joy, movement, and lifestyle. This is super important for me. It's something that I'm very passionate about. And it also gave me an opportunity to think about it and reflect about these three things myself and what I view from my perspective and what I could share with you all. So just a quick overview. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. I actually hate talking about myself, but I'm going to do it. I have questions and more questions. I have this entire slide is filled with questions for you all. I'm really going to make you all think today. I'm going to talk about the pillars of health. I'm going to talk about how important discipline, accountability, and creating good habits are for your success. I'm definitely going to tie it all in with our conclusion, and then I'm going to open up the floor for additional questions. I really want to encourage you all to ask as many questions as possible. If you feel like you're going to interrupt me, totally fine. If you have a question, I can guarantee you that most of the time somebody else on this call has a question as well. So,
and you can put it in the chat area if you don't feel like talking, and I'll keep track of the chat and I'll interject with those questions as well.
Perfect. Yeah, great. Okay, so as you all know, my name is Sarah Gascon. This is a question that I actually ask myself and have asked myself a lot. Who am I and what am I about? I think this is a super important question to ask yourself, and I encourage you all to ask this of yourself. Who are you and what are you about? Well, I grew up being obsessed with the Olympics. I wanted to be an Olympian. I wanted to play for Team USA. I watched the 1984 Olympic Games. It was practically in my backyard. I'm from Los Angeles. And I knew at that moment that that's what I wanted to do the rest of my life. It's so funny because I grew up in the 80s. And as many of you probably know, Title IX was still really new in the early 80s. It wasn't even 10 years old at the time. And when I watched the Olympic Games, I didn't think anything of it. I thought, of course, women could be athletes. I'm watching it on TV. And so from everything from that point on, what I did was preparing like I was going to be an Olympian and I was going to play for Team USA. It didn't matter if I was in my backyard or front yard or at school. That's what I did and who I was. In fact, I spoke to Monica earlier and I said, it's who I identified as. So I was an athlete growing up and I didn't necessarily think of anything about school. And so I wouldn't say I struggled in school, but I was not a top academic. But it's funny to say that now, having 4 degrees. But long story short, it helped me to earn a full athletic scholarship for volleyball and softball. And then I also played soccer my 5th year. My first Team USA team that I made was USA Volleyball, and that was my junior year of college. And then received a notification about playing for USA Baseball. So I tried out for USA Baseball and I made that team as well. and then went on to play for Team Handball. This picture is me playing handball against one of the best handball players in the world, a woman from Brazil. But that's college, and sports is where I fell in love with the science of performance, both psychologically and physically. And so I decided to take the route of still performing as an elite athlete and then also continuing my education. So I earned my undergraduate degree. A few years later, I earned my master's of science. And then a few years later after that, I decided, well, let's just go for the PhD. And I attended Auburn University. That's where my Team USA team was training at the time, and decided to apply for a PhD program. I earned my PhD in 2019, and then that still wasn't enough. I needed to know a little bit more about business, so I decided to earn my MBA. So I just graduated with my MBA in August, which was a huge accomplishment because that was very difficult. But I like to say that I'm an athlete, I'm a scientist, and I'm an entrepreneur. I like to tell people that I'm a hybrid. I'm not necessarily one-dimensional, not that that's bad to focus on one thing, but I like to say that I'm more of a hybrid type of person. I'm really interested in a lot of different things, but one of the things that I'm truly interested in is helping people maximize their potential and recognize their potential. I think too many times people don't even recognize that because they're so concerned about everybody else. And so when I was asked to speak about this, I started thinking about what is it that I enjoyed the most as a child, and what am I doing now that I still enjoy or brings me joy, or brings me happiness. And that was sports for me. And now as I transition into this next life, I'll say it's about really helping people maximize themselves and teaching people ways that they can maximize their potential or maximize their happiness and joy. And so for you all right now, I really want you to think about, what did you aspire to be when you were a child? And can you recall a time, either in your childhood or recently, of your most happiest or joyful moments? And then lastly, what do you do today that brings you great joy? So I'm going to have you all write answers to these questions. And then I really want to encourage you all to share it. So I'll give you a few minutes to write down your answers.
There are all kinds of good feedback. I wanted to be an inventor. I believe this fueled my journey to be a creative director. It's awesome. I wanted to be a ballet dancer. Georgina wanted to be a teacher. I think I get happier each year. What a beautiful answer. Nurse. I love to cook and have started a cookery class. Fabulous. I love being in the great outdoors and hiking or golfing or just enjoying nature. I didn't know what I wanted to do and struggled with a lack of calling, and then went on to have great adventures. Right on. Connecting with people brings me the most joy. I do that through volunteer efforts as a community organizer. Most happy and joyful moments I recall are special moments with my family as a child and now with my own family. And I would agree with that. And someone wanted to be a nun. Wow. And lastly, connecting, sharing, and teaching brings me great joy today. I wanted to be a choreographer or videographer. Happiest time is in nature.
Oh, I love these answers. They're so great. Super important. And the reason why is because you are taking time now as this exercise to reflect on things that bring you joy and bring you happiness. And then the question I want to ask you is, do you now sacrifice your own happiness or own joy for everybody else? Do you first reflect on yourself, and do you first check in with yourself? Or, as I like to tell my students, do you check in with the doer? How many of you actually take some time for yourself in the morning and ask yourself how you're feeling, how you're doing, how doing a body scan, or how you're prepping for your day? Do you actually take time for yourself to reflect on yourself? How many of you actually do that?
You can put it in the chat. I feel like I have a pretty good balance of checking in with myself, but I also don't have my own children, so I'm sure that is a huge part of it. Someone just responded 70-30. It's pretty good.
Yeah. What I've noticed a lot of the times interacting with people is, especially women are infamous for this. They tend to reach out and help everybody else before they help themselves. And there's a really great saying, as you guys fly on planes, some of the first things that they tell you is put on your safety mask, your oxygen mask before you help somebody else. And so even though these things that you guys just described as bringing you joy and happiness, it's helping others, spending time with friends and family, that's also doing something for other people, right? And I want you to take some time today to reflect on yourself and your being and who you are and what you're about and how you can refocus and reset. That's something that I talk a lot about with my clients, is refocusing and resetting and focusing on you first, because you can't help anybody else and you can't bring anybody else joy or happiness if you don't have it yourself. So let's talk a little bit about simple things. These are simple, but we make them complex things to help you in this area. Our pillars are health, exercise, nutrition, hydration, meditation or mindfulness, and sleep. Sleep is my favorite, but we'll get to that last. So exercise, I want you all to think about this. What is the difference between activity and exercise? You could write your answers on your paper if you want, or you could put it in the chat. Next, how many minutes or hours per week are you active or exercising? And then what is your marker for success?
And there was an answer about exercise. It focuses on your body's improvement. Activity is what your body is able to do for your mind. Exercise is intentional, measurable. I actually wrote that, to me, activity seems like a hobby or like fun time, versus I think of exercise as kind of like check the box, get it done.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love this answer for a marker for success is how my body feels. One person averages 6 hours per week. That's great. Good job. And marker for success equals change.
Yeah. And now I would say define change because that's what I do. This is about getting into the details of what these things actually mean. So activity is, it's a hobby. It's something that's fun. It's something that maybe a routine like walking your dog daily, right? So the CDC, of course, has these guidelines, 30 to 60 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week. I like to say be active every day. There's no reason why we can't be active every day. We just are choosing not to for whatever reason. And activity could be something as simple as you're going to get up, you're going to have your breakfast, and then you're going to go for maybe a 5-10 minute walk. Exercise is, usually planned, right? It's a usually planned system within your schedule. It is kind of a check the box thing. Hopefully it's something that you want to do, not something that you have to do. But yeah, there is change that occurs. Now, what does the change mean? The change sometimes means, I'm going to lose weight, or what I like to say is decrease fat mass and increase lean mass, right? So that's some of the change that occurs. But something I really like to emphasize, and it's also flipping the switch, is the way that you're actually feeling throughout the day. So the movement throughout the day. Is your posture different? That's something I emphasize a lot as well. Does it feel easier to put your clothes on and take them off? Does it feel easier to get in and out of a car or walk up and down stairs? Do you feel like you're standing a little bit taller? Do you feel like your confidence is a little bit better? So sometimes the definition of change is that, and identifying those things. So how many of you all actually notice those postural changes or emotional and attitude changes that occur with exercise?
I see some hands raised. Sarah, I've noticed that since I've started doing our workouts together, that it's easier to like open doors. And I would say posturally as well, I feel more open.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. And I don't know if we as humans, because we get in a routine, right? Something as simple as opening a door, which happens multiple times a day, people don't recognize. People don't recognize that exercise actually helped you do that, right? Even standing, brushing your teeth, maybe your arm got fatigued before when you were brushing your teeth, and now it doesn't because you've been working out and lifting weights and you're more consistent. So I like to emphasize that because I think too many times, again, especially women, we get locked in on what the scale is saying. And it's not that that's a bad thing. It's just the number on the scale means something different. That's your overall weight. That's including everything. It's the weight of your organs, your hydration level, the clothes that you're wearing, the food you just ate, that encompasses everything. If we want to get into the real nitty-gritty of what measurements are actually like in your body, how much lean mass you have versus how much fat mass you have, you need to have a little bit more of a scientific approach, which is why I always encourage a DEXA scan. If you have a DEXA scan at your local university or in your community, I encourage you to use that. That's going to give you a little bit more precise of a number. A scale is not necessarily bad, but start thinking about, as you're exercising and doing activity, how is your bra fitting? How is your shirt fitting? Do you have to get new jeans? Are you tightening your belt loop? Your number may not change on the scale, but you clearly are physically changing. And so those are some of the other things that I like to emphasize as well with exercise. Have a routine, and we'll talk about routine later on in the conversation, but start building those habits with something simple like taking a walk. You could take a walk throughout the day and have that count as your exercise. Something I like to do with me personally, I can't spend, 4 hours in the gym working out, but I like to take walks throughout the day. Of course, my dog helps me. But something I like to do is close my rings. I like to close my rings every single day. It's a little game for me. It's a little competition. Maybe not everybody has an Apple Watch, but, challenge yourself to do that as your physical activity or exercise. Does anybody have any questions about exercise specifically? Are you struggling with exercise? Do you have questions about what you should do with exercise? Or any other questions you could think about?
I do. Sarah, I'm still confused on, we've always heard historically that you really need to get your heart rate up and work out really hard. And it seems like new research is showing that you don't really have to get your heart rate super high anymore. And walking really is enough. What are your feelings about level of intensity?
Yeah, there's a lot of research on, I love this question. There's a lot of research on level or zone 1, zone 2 training. So they're finding that zone 1, zone 2, which is a lower level heart rate for you, which is really a brisk walk, has been shown to have benefits for your overall health and well-being. You could do that consistently over time, and there's benefits to that rather than having a zone 4 and 5 2 to 3 times a week. So if you do it consistently every day in a zone 1 and a zone 2, or you're training in a zone 2 consistently, that's been, at least recently, that's been shown to be best bang for your buck. Not a lot of people have time. Like I said, you could get a 20-minute walk in or 30-minute workout in and only be in a zone 1, zone 2, and you still receive the benefits. But with anything science, research is coming out all the time regarding strength training or conditioning or these different zones. So most of the research right now from a cardiovascular standpoint is showing that zone 1, zone 2 is beneficial.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions. Please put your questions in the chat if you have them. How about just real quickly on strength training and bone density, especially for as we get older?
Yes. So a lot of women, if you don't grow up working out or lifting weights as a young woman, you are more likely to be exposed to a lower level of bone density. And as you get older, most likely these women develop osteopenia or osteoporosis. So the beautiful thing about the body is that from a cellular standpoint, it changes within 2 weeks. So you could just start working out now, and 2 weeks from now, from a cellular standpoint, your bones are going to change, your tendons, your ligaments, your muscles are going to change. You may not see that physical change, but it's going to occur. So I really encourage women to lift weights. That's not the end all be all. You could do body weight exercises, but what happens is the body adapts really well. And there's going to be a certain point where it needs additional stress. You have to have additional stress. Sometimes that additional stress is in the form of adding resistance bands or having a little bit longer of a workout or adding weights. I like women to lift weights, dumbbell. Barbell can be intimidating, but I really try to encourage that because it's so good for your bones and it helps you move more efficiently throughout a day.
Thank you.
Great question. So a question, I asked my sister this question, what else would you want to know about exercise? And she said, I would want to know what videos do you recommend, or what do you recommend if I don't want to pay for a personal trainer or online training or even a gym membership? What do you recommend? So I recommend, aside from me, I'm not, you could contact me and I will definitely help you. But if you don't want to do any of that, you don't necessarily want to work with somebody, I think that Peloton or Apple Fitness or Nike is always a great option. I also think YouTube has a lot of really great videos on there. I also think just start with 25 push-ups, 25 sit-ups, and 25 squats a day. You do something simple like that every day, you're going to get stronger. So, the Google is a great machine. There's a lot of different videos on there. And if you don't want to work with somebody, those are your next options, right? Sometimes it's just about starting. Sometimes it's just about starting with the physical activity. And then as you get more comfortable and more confident and you feel like you need something more, maybe that's sometimes when you reach out and ask somebody, a personal trainer or another coach for assistance. So you don't have to go all in on a personal trainer, and you don't have to think that you have to go 0 to 100 right away. Sometimes it's just something as simple as take a walk for 5 minutes and then do your 25 sets or 25 reps with your 3 sets. So that's also another option.
Sarah, there's a question about high impact activity and joint health. And should we be concerned about high impact workouts?
Yeah, high impact, or even sometimes agility and plyometrics. Sometimes I stay away from those if I have somebody who's a new client with exercise. Sometimes I like to get the foundation built first, which is something very simple of understanding how to squat properly, understanding how to do a bench press, understanding how to do rows, like simple movements that are not complex. So I think of it as building a house. You can't build a house on, uneven ground, right? You have to build it on a foundation. So we have to build that foundation first. And sometimes that takes time. Usually I like to do it in an 8 to 16 week block system where I have an undulating periodization, which is probably foreign to some of you, but it's, a 3 set, 4 set, 5 set, and then a recovery. So I like to have some time to recover. So you're building the muscle by having more reps, range from 10 to 15 reps. And then as you transition, that's called a hypertrophy phase. So you're trying to increase muscle size. And then from there, you transition to strength, where you could lift heavier weights, but you don't lift as many reps. You don't have as many reps. So it's kind of an undulating periodization. I go back and forth between those systems. And then from there, once we build the foundation and you're stronger, then that's when I start introducing a little bit more of the high intensity, plyometric, agility. I like to call it the fun stuff. It's also easy. That's easier, I think, to do those things than it is to really focus and concentrate on your fundamental movements.
Sorry for my ignorance, but will you just tell us what plyometrics are?
Plyometrics is jump. Yeah, that's great. It's jump training. So it'll be like ankle hops or jumping onto a box or jumping off from a box to the ground and focusing on your landing mechanics. It's more high intensity, but it's a short duration. So you don't want to do a lot of jump. I don't want to do, let's say, tuck jumps for a minute. That would be crazy and outrageous. I might want to do tuck jumps for 20 seconds or 10 seconds. But it's a high intensity, high impact. It's actually really hard on your joints, because you have a lot of force that is going through your body, but that's why it's important to build that foundation first. That way your body can handle that force.
Yeah. So what you're saying is we shouldn't run out and start doing lots of jumping until we have a foundation.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. I don't recommend it. And actually some scientists believe that you should be able to squat your body weight before you do any type of plyometric training.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
Nope.
If you want to have an at-home gym, Amazon's amazing. I would, again, start with simple resistance bands, and you could add 5-10 pounds to that. Really easy. Okay, let's get a little bit into nutrition. So what do you eat in a week? How much alcohol are you consuming? And then what do you think you should be eating during the week?
Do you want us to put this in chat?
Sure. And please be honest, is what I will say.
Well, while everyone is writing, I'll go ahead and confess. So my weak areas are carbs. Like when you say, what do you eat in a week? So I probably do too many like tacos and burritos and chips. But I know that I'm supposed to eat the rainbow. So I'm trying to eat more fruits and vegetables. And, I think alcohol is so interesting. And, RevelEleven has been doing Sober October together. There were 63 of us. And so last night was the last night. And I feel so much better, not necessarily physically, but just from a strength perspective. Like I feel emotionally strong, and like my willpower is much stronger. But I do think that as a society, we are drinking way too much, and it's just, it's a toxin. And so I do think that that is a major issue for us, especially as social as we are. And I know I am so guilty of drinking more than 2 glasses of wine a night.
Yeah.
And so I do think that this is a major issue. Okay, let's see what people have said. Not a lot of feedback. So continue. Okay.
So I want you to write this down. I wanted to make sure that I had these prepared. So fats, carbohydrates, protein, super important. So you probably have heard people talk about macros or tracking your macros. It's great. If you want to track your macros, I encourage it. What do you eat in a week? Some people don't even, you all probably don't even know what you eat in a week, because a lot of you probably don't even track what you eat. And I would encourage you, this is an exercise I do with my students at Auburn, or I did with my students at Auburn University. I forced them to write down everything that they ate and drank for a week. Just do that for 1 week and then reflect on it and see what you're actually consuming in a week. Now, don't do a week like Christmas week or New Year's, right? or even Thanksgiving. That's going to be a bit of an outlier. But what is your average? What are you eating in a week and consuming? How much alcohol are you actually consuming? And then, of course, what should you eat? Of course, more fruits and vegetables, absolutely. So here's kind of an in general breakdown for you. So you want to try to hit 45 to 65% of carbohydrates in your meals a day, 10 to 35% protein, and 20 to 35% fats. Okay. So if you're trying to lose weight and you definitely want to increase in protein. So you want to increase it to 40 to 50%. Then you also want to decrease the carbohydrates to 10 to 30. And then you could keep your fats between 30 and 40. Okay. So that's if you want to lose weight. The biggest issue I've seen with women is a lack of protein. They eat probably 10 to 20% protein in their diet. You need
Sarah,
to increase that significantly. Yes.
can you translate that to a typical meal? Let's just talk about like dinner. So protein would mean, like this size chicken,
Or
like
double that. Yeah. So a lot of the times it's funny because I don't really agree with the food pyramid. It's not necessary. I think it's a little outdated and it's not realistic. So you almost want to do double your fist of protein for a meal at dinner. But you also remember, you're also getting your proteins and carbohydrates from your fruits and vegetables too. So what does your dinner really look like? Do you have a protein? And your protein doesn't have to be a piece of meat, right? And I made sure I made a list for you all. You have game meat, you have chicken, you have fish, you have eggs, you have lentils, you have peas, you have almonds. That's just to name a few of your protein pieces. Your fats, you could have cheese, you could have avocado, you could have, again, eggs, nuts, fish, chia seeds, extra virgin olive oil. My favorite, dark chocolate. I encourage everybody to eat dark chocolate. Of course, of course we need to add that. And then your carbohydrates, of course, fruits and vegetables, right? So can we eat a balanced diet? You know what's good and what's not good, right? You know what you should be eating and what you shouldn't be eating. And I'm not saying you strip it away completely. Usually when I start with people, it's first, let's look at the week. What does the week look like? Are you consuming sodas? Are you consuming, sugary teas? Are you drinking alcohol? So I usually like to start with the liquids, right? Let's start with the liquids. Let's kind of take some pieces out. I'm not saying go cold turkey. If you drink 4 sodas in a day, let's pull it back to 2, right? And then let's pull it back to 1, and then let's take it out completely. Same thing with alcohol. I'm not saying you can't drink alcohol. I'm just saying, let's just be a little bit more mindful of alcohol or alcohol consumption. Okay. So, when you start dissecting your meals like that, you start really putting the microscope under what you're eating and using that food as your fuel source for performance, or that food as a fuel source for you and your body. Your body's going to use those sources to feed its organs first, right? And then repair the muscle. So, at night when we're talking about dinner specifically, yeah, you could do a fist if you want of the protein. I like to double up the protein sometimes. But again, it also depends on what type of nutrition or diet plan you're following. I don't like the word diet, but I don't know how else to say that. I'm personally an intermittent faster, but that's because my body responds well and my brain responds well to intermittent fasting. So, for me, my meals a day, I only really eat 1 meal a day, but I could function at a high level eating only 1 meal a day. Now, am I consuming as much protein as I can? Yes, because I add other supplements because I am an elite athlete. So I have my protein powders. Some people ask me what protein powders. You could have a whey protein or you could have a pea protein, right? So more vegan, vegetarian based, or you could have the whey, but it's really up to you. Any questions on that?
I don't see any.
Okay. So hydration, how many of you, well, first, how much water do you all drink a day? Write that down. How much water do you think you're losing during sleep? Do you feel like you're dehydrated most of the time during the day? And how would you know? And do you drink coffee?
Well, there have been some answers for 1.5 liters. I assume that's water, and 4 cups a day. I assume that's coffee. And yes, I drink coffee. And I probably do 3 cups a day.
Every time you drink a cup of coffee, you need to hydrate. You need to make sure that you're drinking a couple of glasses of water, 8 ounces of water. The first thing that you should do when you wake up in the morning is drink water, because you are losing sleep. Now, how much water should you drink in a day? You should drink at least half your body weight in ounces a day. And I know that I have some clients on here, and I really try to emphasize that. And one client today told me that it's hard to drink a lot of water. Absolutely, it is very difficult to drink a lot of water. Another question that I was asked is how quickly does your body adapt to the increase in water consumption? I looked it up, and it's actually almost immediately. It's like within 2 hours, it gets acclimated. So that's a good sign. Now, can you overhydrate? Yes, absolutely. When you start to drink more water, your kidney functions differently and your hormones start to change. But can you overflow your kidney system? Absolutely. There's a protein that is released in your kidney that shuts down when you overhydrate. So you want to definitely be careful about that. How do you know if you're overhydrating? You're probably urinating way more frequently within like a 15-20 minute block, and you have clear urine. Same rules on the other end of the spectrum. When you're dehydrated, you could tell, your urine's pretty dark. So when you wake up in the morning, and you guys don't have to answer this, but sometimes when you wake up in the morning, you could tell that you're dehydrated because your urine is a darker color. When you're hydrated, it's not as dark. Have you all experienced that before?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you recommend electrolyte powders?
Then that was the next point I was going to make. Is the other question I usually get is, what do you drink, Sarah? Do you drink Gatorade? Do you drink Powerade? No, I stay away from all of that stuff. What I do drink if I do feel dehydrated is I drink coconut water. So coconut water is one, and not with the extra stuff in it, just regular coconut water. I haven't done research on the Hydrate IV, although I've taken it. I like it, but again, it also has some sugar in it. And then the other one that I've had is BioLite. BioLite they claim is like an IV in a bottle. So those are some of the other things that if I wanted to drink them, I would, but I stay completely away from the Gatorades, the Powerades, some of those other like sugary drinks that really don't benefit me and my performance. Most of the time I do drink just water because I like water.
How about if you're doing something like hot yoga where you're just, losing a ton of sweat? Yeah,
you want to make sure that before any workout that you are hydrated. Again, not overhydrated, but you're hydrated. And then you want to make sure, they say when you're feeling thirsty, that means you're already late. You're already late in hydrating. So when you're doing something like the hot yoga, you want to try anytime you have a break, just take a sip. That's a really demanding practice. But if you could hydrate prior to and then drink sips as you're going through the class, that's going to be the most beneficial. And the other thing that you might want to do, and this is what I encourage people to do, weigh yourself before your workout and then weigh yourself after. So if you lose weight during your workout, if you're 3-5 pounds weight loss after your workout, you need to hydrate because you lost all that water. You really want to be the same weight before and after a workout. Great questions. Okay, mindfulness meditation. Again, another great pillar. So this is going to be a little practice. This is what I do with my undergrad student, or did with my undergrad students. They thought a minute was really long, but I'm going to have us practice it right now. So go ahead and push yourself away from your desk, or if you're sitting on a couch, just try to sit up more upright, or you could push your body completely back into your chair. What I want you to do with your hands is place your hands on your lap, but with your palms up. So your feet should be flat on the ground. You should sit upright in a confident posture. And I want you to close your eyes. So I'm going to do this with you all. I want you to close your eyes. And we're just going to do a quick body scan. So this is going to be a minute practice. And I want you to take a nice deep breath in. Exhale out slowly. Again, nice deep breath in. Really try to expand your lungs. Hold it at the top. Exhale out slowly. And again, one more deep breath in. Hold it for a second at the top. Exhale out slowly. Now I want you to identify specific areas in your body. Do you feel any tightness? Do you feel any stress or pressure or fatigue? If you feel like your muscles are contracting or tightening up, I want you to focus on that and then take a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, release that muscle or that segment. Try to drop your shoulders, relax your upper extremity. Do you feel any tension in your face? Around your jaw? Or your eyebrows, your forehead? If you do, take a nice deep breath in. On the exhale, release and relax. I want you to use your breath now as your anchor. So if you start to think about other things, just bring your attention back to your breath. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale out slowly. Another deep breath in. Exhale out slowly. And when you're ready, you could open your eyes.
That was 1 minute.
Yeah.
Wow.
1 minute. So when we talk about take a minute, I really mean take a minute. So this is, I think, the key to unlocking your day. Taking some time for yourself when you wake up and doing a body scan and allowing yourself to reflect on you and focus on you and pay attention to you. You could do this in the morning when you wake up. You could do this right before bed, and it'll help you calm your nervous system down and relax you for and prepare you for sleep. So I like to say it's a reset, it's a refocus, and it's a staying in the present. When I had you focus on your breathing or using your breath as an anchor, a lot of the times we have monkey mind, right? And maybe you guys experience that as well. You're thinking about literally, probably, when is this over? I have to do X, Y, and Z. I need to go and meet so-and-so later. You're thinking, and then you're thinking about everybody else, and you're not thinking about yourself, and you're not staying in the moment yourself. So when you feel like stress is all around you or the chaos is all around you, bring order back to yourself. And it sometimes starts with just a sit. Just take 1 minute out of your day and take those nice deep breaths in. do a quick body scan and just allow yourself to feel, you can almost feel all the cells in your body in that moment. So I like to call it win the day. It's what's important now. What's important now in that moment is you. You have to reset. You have to refocus. You have to realign yourself with you, because you can't perform at an elite level, and you all are elite people. You can't perform in your job or in your family if you don't allow yourself some time and space to do that. Any questions on that? And I've done this in class with my students up to 5 minutes, and we'll have a 5-minute sit at the beginning of class and the end of class. And for my students, it totally changed their perspective on mindfulness and meditation. A lot of the times they think that they have to be like the guy in the picture where you have to sit next to a pond and then, cross your legs and maybe chant. That's not the reality. And we don't have time for that sometimes. If you do,
it's amazing the difference just that 1 minute made. I mean, I feel much more grounded than I did before.
For sure. The other thing you might want to do too, which is really good, is take your shoes off, take your socks off, and go stick your feet in the grass, right? Mother Earth has a lot of energy, and you get a lot of energy from Mother Earth. So go ahead and do that. And you could do your minute, your focus, outside in the grass with your bare feet in the grass, or take a walk in the grass. I know we're running out of time, and I want to leave some time for questions. So sleep, how do you prepare? This is just for you all. How do you prepare for bed? What time do you go to sleep? And how long does it take you to fall asleep? Do you take naps? I will say, if you do take naps in the day, you're probably not getting enough sleep. You're probably not getting optimal sleep. You should get 8 to 10 hours of sleep. I know every time I say that, people are like, you're crazy, Sarah. I cannot get 8 to 10 hours of sleep. But you actually can get rest for 8 to 10 hours. And rest, by what I mean by rest, is prepare your body for bed and lay in bed. So even if you're not asleep, you allow your nervous system to calm down and prepare for the next day. So 8 to 10 hours of sleep, your most optimal sleep is the time before midnight. So all the hours you sleep before midnight is the most optimal amount of sleep you'll receive all night.
Sarah, doesn't that vary? Or is that just like research shows?
Research has shown. So it probably can vary. I mean, I usually say that every body is different, so it does vary. However, at least this is what the research has shown, that the hours before midnight have been the most optimal. And 8 to 10 hours, they've done research on sleeping 8 to 10 hours as opposed to less than 8 hours. And say they did this research with athletes. So they found that athletes they did it with basketball players specifically. They had a greater free throw shooting percentage with 8 to 10 hours of sleep than they did with getting less than 8 hours. So, some people are like, well, that's athlete. You guys are different. No, we're not different. We're actually all the same. We're all performers. We're just performing in a different environment.
Can you talk a little bit about naps and if they are helpful?
They are. So if your body wants to shut down, shut it down. So I'm not saying stay away from naps. When your body's tired, listen to your body. When your body doesn't want to work out, there's a difference of like being really fatigued and you're just being lazy. Let's get real. So you know the difference. When you're that fatigued and that exhausted, listen to your body, skip the workout, take a nap. Don't use caffeine or don't use other supplements to try to keep you awake. It is so much better for your body to refresh and recover from a nap. Now, how long do you take naps? Well, 15, 20-minute naps are great. If you go beyond 60 minutes, that's where you kind of get into your danger zone. That's where you're actually your sleep at night is going to suffer. So I would recommend more power naps, a 15, 20-minute power nap. Even if you're not fully asleep, just lay down. Your body needs it. Your mind needs it. Your nervous system needs it. Okay. So listen to it and shut it down. I'm a big believer in that. Your body, you know your body better than anybody will ever know your body. So when you're ready for it to perform at the next level and push it, you go ahead and push. When you need to recover and rest, recover and rest. I had to put my dog on here because I love
So
my dog.
cute.
That's Benjamin Franklin. Of course, I had to put him at the
Aw.
discipline, accountability, and creating good habits. He's a border collie and he's way smarter than I will ever be. But he is very disciplined and he holds me accountable. So I like to have him around. So what does it mean to be self-disciplined? How do you stay accountable and how do you execute? These are the things that I would say that I learned as an athlete and as somebody in academics. Everything that I learned athletically, I actually transferred it into my academic life and my professional life. And so I have notes here for you all. What does it mean to be disciplined? Discipline, there's this quote that says the distance between dreams and reality is called discipline. So what are you actually doing between what you believe and dream and what you want to accomplish, and then what reality actually is? So let me go into, so these are your questions for you guys to think about as you're going along your day. So discipline, it becomes increasingly difficult as you get more tired. Another reason why optimal sleep is important. So you want to make sure that you are getting plenty of sleep because it affects everything that you're doing. So it's much easier when you're feeling good. And you all have probably seen that. What does it require? What does discipline require? It requires a vision from you. It requires a mission, a list of goals, even a mantra, and commitment from you. So allowing yourself to think about what you want to achieve and how you want to achieve and how you're going to execute that. It's a delay in gratification. I've learned this as an athlete that, I have a 4-year span. Actually, it's 3 years to qualify for the Olympic Games. I have to commit myself every single day in my sleep, in my hydration, in my nutrition, and in my practice or my exercise. I have to do that on a whole nother level so I could perform 3 years from now. Or it's actually this year for me because the Olympic Games is 2024. So I have to perform now. Everything that I've done for the past 3 years matters now for me. So for you all, it's no different. Everything that you're doing today, it's going to satisfy your future self. And your future self may be a month from now. It may be 5 years from now. But focusing and being disciplined and being accountable to the actions that you're partaking in today really are going to affect your future self. Do it now. Don't wait. Don't wait till you feel good. Don't wait till you're in the mood. Do it now. You want to make a change, do it now. Again, just like I talked about with the nutrition and the alcohol consumption, you don't have to go cold turkey this week. You could just take pieces apart. Just start with one thing. I tell my teammates this too in practice. Just focus on one thing. That's all you have to do. Focus on one thing and then add something else next week and then add something else the following week. And then you're going to start creating habits and creating a routine. So how do I hold myself accountable? Well, I have my little notebook here with my calendar in it. I have a calendar on all my computers. I have a calendar on my phone. I take notes on my phone. I take notes in my notebook with my calendar. So that's how I hold myself accountable. I audit my day. What does my day look like? Now, I usually do an audit on Sunday. So I plan my week on Sunday because that's my day off. So I plan my week and then I fill time with other things. So I encourage you all to audit your day. What are you actually doing in a day, a regular day? Do you have a calendar? Do you have a list of things to do? Are you somebody who likes to check off boxes? I know I am for sure. Have a strong why. Why are you doing what you're doing? What is the reason? What is the purpose? You have to answer those questions. The reason why is because then it means something to you. If you don't have a strong why, you're probably not going to do what's on your list of things to do, right? And the important thing, visualize achieving whatever your goal is or whatever your goals are. That's something that we as athletes definitely lean into, and it helps us to achieve and perform at an elite level. You all, again, are no different than us. You are performing at an elite level. It just looks different. And then the last thing is you really want to make sure you take care of yourself. again, we started off this conversation by thinking about joy and happiness, but like you have to fill your bucket. You have to help yourself first. Because if you don't help yourself first, you really can't reach out and help anybody else. Or if you're operating at 50% of your max, you're going to give probably 50 or 25% of your max to somebody else. So think of it like that as well. So overall, in conclusion, and I'm sorry I rushed the last couple of slides, but overall in conclusion, I really want you to emphasize taking care of yourself, making yourself a first priority. And you can do that with focusing on these pillars of health. Health is wealth. It really is. Create the habits, set boundaries. A lot of the times people don't know how to say no. They don't know how to set boundaries. They feel really bad because they feel like they can help somebody. So therefore they're going to help them. But who's going to help you? You know, at the end of the day, you have to help yourself first. And sometimes you have to set those boundaries so you could reset and refresh. And then create a support system. I think RevelEleven probably has an outstanding community of support. And it seems like, I mean, I don't know a lot about you all. I just know what I've researched, but it seems like you guys have an outstanding support system, a support system that'll help you stay accountable and encourage you. At the end of the day, that's what I like to bring to the table is I really like to encourage people. I like to say, I'm your teammate. I'm going to pat you on the back. So even when you do something wrong or bad or make a mistake, I'm going to say, hey, it happens. Mistakes happen. You could go, I'm going to be right there with you. Change it. I could help you change it, you know? But again, I have to make sure that I'm taking care of myself and I'm filling my bucket first before I can help anybody else. So those are some of the things that I really try to help you all with. If you'd like to contact me, here's, I do have a website that I haven't really updated, but I'm going to start doing that. I have my LinkedIn. And then if you all want to reach out to me through email, you can. But I want to reach out to you all. Do you all have any questions or comments or anything that I talked about in the last few slides?
I do have a comment based on working with you for the past 3 or 4 months. Is the game changer for me was that the workouts that you send out are like anywhere from 20, usually like 25 to 30 minutes. And the game changer for me is I always felt like that wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
But to know it's only like, 25 minutes, I can squeeze that in any day.
Yeah.
And so it's not intimidating. And a lot of times I'll save it for the afternoon because that's my sluggish time. And even though it's the time that I feel like working out the least, when I do it, I have way more energy for the rest of the day. And it's manageable, like even the difference between 25 minutes and 40 minutes, it just helps my discipline so much. So for everyone, I would highly encourage, like, even if you're just going out for a walk for 15 or 20 minutes, we can all fit that in a day, I believe. So Sarah, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.